There's a silent thief that we don't talk about quite enough, right? Actually, a disease that we don't mention as much as we should. And this disease is just as dangerous as any disease that you could possibly name, right? Whether that be heart disease, cancer, diabetes, whatever disease you want to name, this disease is just as dangerous. And every single day, thousands, millions of people lose a fraction of their lives because of this disease. And this disease that I'm talking about is no other than fear. And it has the ability to rob you of your life. Many of us, or most of us, live in a perpetual cycle of fear, right? Most of us allow fear to deter us from the things that we want to achieve in this life, right? Whether that be the fear of being judged, the fear of being ridiculed, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of failure, whatever it is that you wanna name it, right? We allow fear to deter us from at least giving ourselves a chance. And to be honest with you, I was one of those people. I lived my life in a perpetual cycle or perpetual state of fear. And looking back, there were so many things that I wanted to, go towards. There's so many things that I wanted to have. But before I even gave myself a chance, I allowed fear to consume me. Right? I rejected myself before I even gave myself the opportunity. And I really think it's important for us to at least give ourselves the chance. At least, give ourselves the opportunity to say that we tried. Right? Regret is always worse than rejection. Now that I look back, right, and I'm able to sort of detach myself from the emotions of it all, I'm able to reflect and I'm able to say to myself, if I tried and I failed, it would have been so much better than me not trying at all, right? Even giving myself that small chance to say that I gave myself a shot is so much better than regret. And to be honest with you, the things that I didn't allow myself to have a chance at, I had so much regret afterwards. Regret consumed me, right? Regret consumed me. And I really think that a lot of the times the things that we're so afraid of, going towards, or the things that we're so afraid of trying, to be honest with you, when you really do give yourself the chance, after you give yourself the shot, you're able to look back and you're able to say, that wasn't so bad after all. I was afraid of that, But in the moment, you're so consumed by the fear, and the fear becomes so real in your mind, when in reality, a lot of the fear that we have is simply, ludicrous. It's an illusion, right? Most of the fear that we allow to consume us is really irrational. If you see a snake, you're not going to walk towards a snake and try to pet the snake. If you see a tiger, you're not going to walk towards a tiger and try to pet the tiger, because that's a real fear. But a lot of the things that we fear are the things that we allow to consume us, right? Or a lot of things that we shy away from, they are irrational. You starting that business, right? Or you having the fear rather to start that business is irrational. That's an irrational fear. You seeing that girl across the road or across the street, and you making your way over there to say hi, show her you have interest or whatever, that's irrational as well. The most she can say is no. A lot of the things that we shy away from are the things that we don't give ourselves a chance to at least have a shot at. They are irrational. They're not real, right? It's all in our minds. And I really think our minds are really our worst enemies. There's always that loud voice in your head saying, you better not do it. or what's the point, or maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe if I do it, I'm going to fail. We always have that loud voice in our heads deterring us from the things that we want to achieve or the things that we desire. But if you really listen closely, there's always that soft voice, right? That soft intuition telling you, go for it. Give yourselves a chance. Give yourself the chance, right? But oftentimes that voice is so loud, and because we get so used to that negativity, we completely shut that small voice up, that small voice of positivity, and we allow ourselves to only listen to that loud voice. But in every single moment of your life, right, you have the chance or you have the choice to rise above that voice. You have the choice to shut that voice up and take action, right? You have to understand that if you don't take action, your mind will. And oftentimes we overthink, our decisions. We overthink, our actions to the point in which we become sort of numb and we become paralyzed by thought. And then we allow fear to consume us, and we allow fear to stop us from going after what it is that we desire, right? It's all about taking action. And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with doing it in fear. There's nothing wrong doing it afraid. Doing it afraid is so much better than not doing it at all, right? Giving yourself the chance is so much better than not taking that shot. And truth be told, you might take the shot, you might go for it, and you might fail, right? You might not get it, but at least you tried. And I think when it comes on to life, it's really about having the courage to go for it. That's really what life is about. I think most of us, we sort of, in a sense, take life way too seriously, and we allow certain things that we desire, to sort of become a life or death situation in our minds, right? But living life with a sense of freedom means that you give yourself the chance to go towards the things that you desire, right? Having the courage to go for it. And truth be told, right, without fear, there would be no courage. Courage only becomes real, or courage becomes, real in the presence of fear, right? Fear doesn't make you a coward. Allowing your fears to deter you from going after what it is that you desire is what makes you a coward. But all of us, every single one of us in this world, or at least I think, right? I've never met anyone in my life that didn't have, some degree of fear, whether conscious or unconscious. Most of us have fears. We're human. We're not robots, right? We have things that scare the shit out of us, right? So you're not a coward for having fear. You're a coward for having fear, for making fear consume you. You're a coward for allowing fear to consistently rob you of your life instead of giving yourself the chance to go for what it is that you desire. See, life is given to you only once. And I've said this so many times. This is the only chance you have to live, right? At least that I know of. This is the only chance we have. So we can either choose to live it from a place of fear, or we can choose to live it from a place of courage. There are so many people in this world right now, right? So many people in the hospital, so many people that are sick, so many people that are on the verge of dying or transitioning or whatever you want to call it, right? And they're in that state with so much regret, right? They're looking back at their lives and they're wondering, what if I had went for that job opportunity? What if I had approached that girl? What if I had started that YouTube channel? Right? What if I had started that business idea that I had? They're having so much regret. And they allowed fear to rob them of their lives. See, every single time you don't take action because of fear, fear eats away at a small portion of your life, right? Every single time you don't give yourself the chance, fear eats away at your life. And then you end up 60, 70, 80 years old, looking back, wonder what if. But in this moment in time, you still have life. And if you're watching this and you're still healthy, if you're watching this and you're still fairly young, if you're watching this and you still, are able to walk and to talk or whatever, you have the choice to change. You have the chance to be better, right? There's this quote that says, life begins, or your second life begins, once you realize you only have one, or something of that nature, right? Can't remember clearly in this moment. And so once you realize that you only have one chance to live, you begin to take your life more seriously. Not in the sense that you sort of, not enjoy life, but in the sense that you live life with a bit of intention. You live life and you go towards the things that you desire, right? I think a part of living life to the fullest is living life with courage and allowing yourself to have a chance at what it is that you desire. And once you do that, once you move towards the things that you desire, once you live with courage, then that's when you're truly living. But whenever you allow fear to consume you, whenever you reject yourself, whenever you deter yourself from the things that you desire, then you're not truly living. You're simply existing. And what's the point of being here if you're not going to live? But you have a choice in this moment. You can change, right? You can be better. And being better starts with you, moving through your fears, right? Doing better and living means that you allow yourself to act despite your fears, right? You have the chance, you have the choice, right? Every single day you don't act, you're allowing fear to rob you of a small portion of your life. But in this moment, you can be better. In this moment, you can move forward. In this moment, you can give yourself the chance. You can. You still have life, you're still breathing, you're still alive. Give yourself the chance. Live, start living from this day on forward. Right? So, once again, thank you guys for watching. And I really hope you start taking action despite your fears. Having fear or being fearful doesn't make you a coward. Not acting despite your fears is what makes you a coward. And every great person that has walked this earth has some degree of fear, right? But the thing that makes them courageous, the thing that makes them strong, is being able to act despite this fear, or despite that fear, right? Don't allow fear to rob you of your life. Take action. Give yourself the opportunity and allow life to do the rest. Peace and blessings.